All right. Good morning to you. Steve's here with his coffee cup. There we go. A lot going on in the news. Wow. We got a lot to cover here this morning. Weather-wise, kind of nice out there. Another clear day, but not so on the east side of the Cascades. We got some serious fire problems over there. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Good morning. Anything special today?
Yes, I like today. It's a combination of two things that I like. It is National Chicken Wing Day.
Oh, yes.
And I like mine more the sweet and tangy rather than the flames blowing out of your nose.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know?
Yeah.
That stuff, you don't even get the flavor anymore. It's just gone. But some people like it. I know Jerry loves super hot food, but I'll go for the tangy one. And then you dip it in like ranch sauce, which is, of course, we found all the FIFA fans love ranch sauce.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't know if they had chicken wings.
Well, look, this is I don't know where we got the term buffalo wings, but I like them too, and I like them with like you. I like them a little bit with honey barbecue sauce.
Oh yes, you and I are on the same page.
All right.
I like that. It's also National Lasagna Day.
Ooh.
I mean, let's see. I don't know that you want to have both. That's a lot of, well, I don't know. A lot of good food. So however you like your lasagna, because there's a lot of different ways of making lasagna. So those are the two things right there, and I like them both.
Well, lasagna, look, there's some great Italian restaurants in Southern Oregon where you can get the homemade lasagna. But if you're having a busy day and you have the taste for lasagna, nothing like the Costco one. It is delicious.
I knew you were going to say that. And there's enough for the whole family.
Oh, yes, you and your neighbors, yes. Have a nice day.
You could almost, with the lasagna from Costco, have a block party, an excuse for a block party.
You know, it's a cheap way to throw a staff meeting together.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
And tasty, too.
Yeah, there you go. All right, good morning to excuse me, good morning to you. Let's check out the weather. Here you go.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies continue with highs in the low 80s for Vancouver and Portland. Wilsonville reaches 85, while McMinnville tops out at 83 under mostly sunny conditions. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny conditions continue with highs in the low to mid 80s. Salem reaches 84, while Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene become sunny with afternoon temperatures from 82 to 84. Central Oregon stays sunny with Brineville reaching 90 and Bend and Sun River 87 under clear conditions. Boise is smoky and turns sunny and hot with a high of 97. Along the Oregon coast, decreasing clouds in Coos Bay bring a high of 69. Port Orford turns mostly sunny near 67, while Brookings and Crescent City begin with patchy fog before becoming mostly sunny with highs of 57 and 64. In southern Oregon, sunny weather continues with highs near 91 in Grants Pass, 93 in Medford, 89 in Ashland, and 90 in Klamath Falls. Lows tonight fall back into the mid to upper 50s. Across Northern California, sunny skies continue with Wairika reaching 90, Redding climbs to 102, and Chico to 99 under sunny and hot conditions, while Fort Bragg stays mostly sunny with a high of 64. In the Bay Area, sunny weather continues with highs near 90 in Santa Rosa, 87 in Napa, 75 in San Francisco, and 86 in San Jose. Lows tonight settle into the upper 50s. For Central California, sunny and hot conditions continue with Sacramento reaching 97, Stockton and Modesto climb to 95, while Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield both reach 100. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there is the beginning of a sunrise. That's looking to the northeast. That's Mount McLaughlin out there. The sun is beginning to glow to the left of that between those two trees. Now, this morning I went out and took this other picture. Let's see if we have it. There's the moon set.
Oh, nice.
Last night was a full moon. I don't know if you saw the moon rise last night. It was spectacular. And there is the full moon set. So you got a beautiful sunrise at one end, and you got a moon set at the other. That's probably disappeared behind the mountain by now. So nice stuff out there all the way around.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, Christ told us he would never leave us or forsake us. Now, do you take that seriously? Dr. David Jeremiah says, you know, that kind of a promise is something we need to keep in our hearts, especially if we realize it's the Holy Spirit that is working through us to keep those promises.
That when, first of all, we are strengthened in the Spirit we sense the presence of God in our life. Now, this is a little bit delicate, but let me see if I can help us grab hold of it. He says that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, verse 17. The Bible says that Christ comes to live within our hearts when we become Christians. And Paul is writing this to Christian people, and he's praying that Christ might dwell in their hearts. There must be a difference between dwelling and living, and there is. The word dwell there means to be at home. My prayer for you is that Christ may be at home in your heart. Have you ever been in a place where you were in the house, but you weren't at home in the house? Maybe they talked to you as close to the door as possible so that as fast as you came in, you will leave. You do not feel welcome. You do not feel at home. The Bible says that God's prayer for us is that Jesus Christ might live in our hearts and be at home there, that he might dwell there, that he might be comfortable there. Is Christ comfortable in your heart? Are you comfortable with Christ in your heart? It's interesting to think about that in terms of the scripture that we have here from Paul.
What a great thought. Is he comfortable in your heart? And are you comfortable with him being in your heart? Good stuff. All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories today, and there is a bunch of them. Yesterday was pretty much dominated by the memorial service that started in the Capitol Rotunda, honoring the late Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina. Ended up at the National Cathedral, which was just a beautiful service and place going on. A lot of people recognized him. A very touching moment when his sister came to the rotunda, who has now been temporarily assigned to his seat. She is Senator Graham, Darlene Graham, and his passing certainly sudden at 71 years old, and he's been really greatly honored. And then the casket was taken to the National Cathedral and a service there, and I guess that's where the president had some things to say, right, Steve?
Yes, yeah, quite a few people did. The president saying, you know, Lindsey Graham was a key backer of the U.S. You can't deny this on a rather global scale.
He had unwavering faith in the righteousness of American power and prayer. And he was extremely hawkish. I will tell you, he never saw a war that he didn't like. Only his true friends would understand that, but he wanted it for the good of our country. He felt in his bones that our destiny is to win, and that his job was to do everything he could to ensure our enemies would lose. It was this conviction that led him to serve 33 years in uniform in the Air Force and Air Force Reserves and Air National Guard, even while he was in office. And it was this conviction that took him as a senator to almost every country on earth, confronting America's adversaries and standing up for America's friends. He had tremendous friendships all over the world.
They had kind of a rocky beginning to their relationship, but it turned out quite well. And as you mentioned, Perry, there were times that you'd say, you know what, I agree with Lindsey on some things, but other things it's like, what? I don't quite get all of this. But hey, isn't that politics?
Yeah, it is.
But he flew around the globe, all over the place. And in fact, the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, reflected on Graham and the friendship, the personal one that he had with Graham.
I dearly miss him. He was a great friend. He is a straight talker, always absolutely clear about his advice. As I said, a great American patriot, but also somebody who embodies the United States. This is, I believe, why the United States is unconquerable, why you are this nation which everybody looks up to for leadership. Look at his humble beginnings, how he started and how he took care of his family. He was a real family guy.
Well, the one thing about Lindsey Graham, I think it's very clear, whether you agreed with him or not, wherever he stood on a position, he was very passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
And
sure.
he expressed that. So what's happening now is his sister, Darlene, has been appointed by the governor of South Carolina to sit in his seat up and through till January, which would have been the end of his term. Senator Graham did win his primary for re-election. And he was heading into, the midterm elections. He did have a strong opponent on the Democratic side. There was some polling there that kind of showed some concerns. But now what will happen is the South Carolina governor and Republican Party will have a special Republican special Republican primary August 9th. Well, 12 people have signed up.
Wow.
12. And looking through the list, it's kind of interesting. There are a few that may have some possibilities. Most of these people, other candidates like Duke Buckner, he's an attorney, Danny Ford II, a farmer, Mark McBride, a former mayor, Darius Mitchell, which is just a resident, Clark Nielsen, a businessman. Hold on here, there's a couple other here. Sam Shepard, which is a bioengineer. And then you have Dr. Andrews, which is a physician. So Mark Lynch is a possibility from Greenville, but we'll see what happens. Fry is a possibility. I don't know. I don't know what happens here, but here's the rules. They'll go into this special primary in August 9th. The top two, well, if somebody doesn't win 51%, the top two will have a runoff. I think it's August 19th. In the meantime, Lindsey Graham's sister said she's in, and apparently she's getting the nod from the president. He likes her. That could be an endorsement. It hasn't been official yet. She's been working with the late senator's staff. She knows him very well because she was kind of like a behind-the-scenes person working with her brother, but you never knew about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, 12 people have filed for that seat, if you can imagine that, and that's going to be pretty interesting. So in the meantime, Benjamin Netanyahu's in town meeting with the president. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was pretty busy because the Ukrainian president was in the audience for the memorial, as was Benjamin Netanyahu. And the president, after the memorial, had a meeting with each of them individually. And Benjamin Netanyahu, we didn't hear too much about really what went on during the meetings, except I think Zelensky was saying he wanted to have some more weaponry approved for use. It kind of has to go that route. And meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu said it was a good meeting that he had with the president, whatever they talked about.
When I say excellent, it's not just lip service. It was a conversation of full partnership, of mutual support with an understanding of the shared goal to ensure that Iran will not have nuclear weapons. It was one of the best conversations I've had with the President of the United States, our friend Donald Trump.
Okay. So I think part of this is they had to squelch the media trying to create a divide between the two leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had to squelch that. We'll see where this goes. In the meantime, let me just say this about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He will return in September to make his speech to the UN in the shadow of the mayor wanting him to be arrested. I think we need to be prepared for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu possibly giving the speech of his lifetime.
Well, that's a good point.
At the UN. And I can't help but think that part of his speech will drill down on the anti-Semitism being created by this mayor in that city.
Yeah, the mayor of New York. He certainly, Benjamin Netanyahu, would have the evidence to show how this has extended into all sorts of areas since he was threatened with being arrested. And Mamdani later said, well, I really don't have the authority to do that. But he was going to do that. That's what he said was on his agenda.
Well, he'll be in the town of the largest concentration of Jews on the earth outside of Israel, the city of New York. And you can rest assured, I was thinking about this, the times that he's been before the joint session of Congress. His speeches are so eloquent, and he's such a communicator. But this speech, in the shadow of this mayor wanting him to be arrested for genocide and all the other nonsense, I think will be the speech of his lifetime. So get ready for that. In the meantime, well, Dr. Fauci is going to town today, and apparently he is heading into some strong headwinds. He will be testifying before the congressional hearing today about the contrast between what he wrote in his diary and what he was saying to Congress and what he was saying to the public.
Right. And his diary becoming explosive just in the past week and a half.
Right.
Did the COVID virus start in a lab, or was it the wet market that he contends? And it's ongoing. It's going to be going on all day today, you know. Dr. Roger Marshall is a congressman as well as a doctor, and he says they have a lot of questions to ask Fauci.
On January 26th, in his own diary, he says that this virus came that it did not come from that wet market. And then just 5 days later, he's talking to 12 of the greatest scientists that do gain-of-function research. 10 of the 12 say that this came from a laboratory, not from nature. He didn't tell that to the president. He didn't tell that to the American public. And then it was one lie after another. 6 foot of social distancing, the mask, no mask, the vaccine stops the spread, all the lies that he told. So I think we just need to show the American public the differences between what was in the diary versus what he was communicating to the American public, to the president, and then eventually when he obstructs Congress and later on in hearings.
Okay, so what you have here is a couple of things. First of all, they're going to certainly go after the contrast from what he said publicly to what was in his diary. That's going to be the meat of it. But understand this, he currently is resting under a blanket amnesty from President Biden. And
yes. Yeah, that's
now
right.
they're saying because of perjury, public perjury, not only to Congress, but to the American people, that amnesty may not cover this. And that there may be a loophole in it. And I'm not an attorney. You and I play one every once in a while, but
we like to. I have a hat over here that says attorney on it.
Does it? Yeah, well, so it's possible they can get him. I think most Americans realize what a not good person Dr. Fauci is. He got in a twisted way. He got caught up in the world notoriety of being the spokesman of COVID, and it got the best of him. So the chickens are coming home to roost. We'll see how this goes. Does a blanket amnesty cover perjury?
And even if you give him the benefit of the doubt, they say he may have been trying to make sure that science wasn't to blame for COVID, because if it came from a lab, then science could be blamed for it. Well, I don't know. That's giving him a lot of credit. I think you're right. He seemed to be overwhelmed by the publicity he was getting, and he enjoyed it. According to his diary, it's not my words. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not in his library.
Well,
his diary, his library.
There's one other twisted part of this, is he was making sure that lab got money from the United States.
Yes, right.
And will that come to light?
Yeah.
And how they were.
We'll see.
It's very twisted. It is flat evil. I mean, this man has got serious problems, and I hope he comes to Jesus. But in the meantime, he has to pay for the crime that I think he's committed here. We'll see what happens. All right, those are the top stories. And so we're going to go have some buffalo wings and lasagna.
Hey, sounds good.
We'll be right back.
Visit fishlakeresorts.net today to learn more and plan your visit.
Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America. You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on theDove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs. Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching. Watch Real Life with Jack Hibbs Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on theDove TV.
Hi, good morning. 22 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Stephen Perry with you this morning. A little bit of a backyard update of what's going on. We have a lot of problems out in central and eastern Oregon with fires. 1.1 million acres are burning in the state of Oregon.
Wow.
There's the latest Duty Watch map. Watch Duty. Let me get that straight. Watch Duty map of the fires in Oregon and up through Washington State. 6,000 people at the Warm Springs Reservation. Well, first of all, the Warm Springs Reservation has completely evacuated along with other communities in central and eastern Oregon that have been threatened. At least 6,000 people in Oregon now are under what they call the Level 3 Go Now evacuation. 1.1 million acres are burning out in central Oregon, anywhere from around Sisters, Redmond, all the way up through the central Oregon, that area, all the way up to Highway 84 and out into the eastern counties. Very serious. Out our own backyard, I walked out this morning to see what's happening because Medford is what they call a tanker base. And what that means is that it's hard for you to see that picture, but there's an Electra there, a 4-engine bomber, and then on way out there are two DC-10s on the tarmac this morning outside. I took that early this morning. Two DC-10s, and then on the other side we have another Electra at the pump station, and then one of the DA jets sitting over there ready to go. So we have 4 aircraft here. Now what happens, they'll come here, they'll refuel, and then they'll get filled up with the retardant and fly over to central in eastern Oregon to deliver their load. And so they'll get busy here probably within the next few moments. They'll start flying and they'll head over there and start working. It has a lot to do with the humidity, air inversion, and all the other things, smoke, visibility. But it's serious problems here in the state of Oregon. Be patient, be vigilant, be careful, be prayerful for these people, especially the crews that are frontline. It is dangerous work. The support team and the resources. When you have that big of fires, the resources can run pretty thin. I was looking through one of the reports that just came across early this morning. Bench fires at 40,000 acres. The Aqua fire, 27,000 acres. The Hay Creek Complex fire, still up around 173 to 175,000 acres.
Wow.
And let's see here. Gosh, my thumb won't work. The Roe Creek Complex fire, now 300,000 acres. One
That's
fire.
amazing.
It's a complex fire, so that means it's a bunch of little ones. You add all those together, they're not little, it's 300,000 acres. It is about 33% contained, so they're slowly getting a handle on it. But boy, it has been a bad year, so be careful out there. Take a look at this satellite image. This will show you kind of what's going on with the weather. Do we have the satellite image? Okay, I guess we don't. Okay, so anyway.
That map shows that Oregon is the biggest concentration of fires.
Yeah, so you can see our weather out there. Still severe clear. We do have some moisture in the air. The temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s, maybe touching 90, but mainly in the mid to upper 80s. So there's always a possibility of a thunder buildup, but right now it looks pretty good, and we'll go with that. There we go.
Well, that's good. Well, we told you a couple days ago about fires also in France and in Spain, and they say in France anyway, where they've had a lot of evacuations and it's been in the wine country, they are making headway, so that's good news there. But you look at the wildfires and it's like, you know what, it doesn't matter where they take place. If you've got trees and all the rest, it's just like Oregon, where you're going to see a lot of the impact of all of that. So I guess you'd say good news for some of those areas in Europe. They are getting a hold on it, but as we all know, they are tough to fight when you're in a highly vegetated area.
Mm-hmm. Well, be careful out there, folks. This is just, it's a tough season, one of the worst we've ever seen. And guess what? It's not even August yet.
Yeah. Pray for rain.
There you go.
That was a good group in the 80s. Christian group, Pray for Rain. Remember they called themselves PFR later?
Oh, that's right.
This puts a whole different theme on that, though. Pray for rain for the wildfires. I don't know if they ever had a song about wildfires, but I digress.
Yeah. So what's going on with the mayor in New York these days?
Well, this is interesting. I was, until this morning, unaware, really, that there were protests against Mamdani for his views on what he's done in the area of New York City. But there was that particular thing. And following the protests against him and also his protests against Benjamin Netanyahu being in New York City, Manhattan Institute senior fellow Chris Rufo spoke with a Fox Business program called Evening Edit, describing the situation in New York as rather stunning in light of 9/11.
I don't know.
Remove Mamdani! Remove Mamdani! Hey-ho! Hey-ho! Zoran Mamdani's got to go! Hey-ho! Hey-ho! Zoran Mamdani's got to go!
He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone. But he's trying to turn one group against the other, and he's foisting hate and fear. I speak to Jewish Americans in New York, and they're afraid right now. And I don't think it's accidental that after he made this hate speech against Israel and against me, the next day, a Jew is stabbed coming out of a synagogue. He celebrated October 7th massacre, the worst massacre against Jews since the Holocaust.
And I think for all of us who are alive and remember 9/11, how it brought all Americans together, we're looking at this situation with a sense of bewilderment, because the reality is that Zoran Mamdani is at a bare minimum sympathetic to the kind of ideology that drove 9/11 and is driving left-wing politics more generally today. This is a stunning turn of events, and I think it's more than fair for families of the victims of 9/11 to tell Zoran Mamdani, stay out. You're actually on the opposite side of justice, or the opposite side of the memory of 9/11. And this is sadly going to be an even more salient issue in the future, because it's not just Mamdani, but it's the entire Democratic Socialists of America agenda. It's third worldist, it's decolonial, and they share a lot of those radical Islamist suppositions that caused those towers to fall 20 plus years ago.
So the question I have, Perry, is this a beginning of a groundswell against Mamdani, or is this just a one-off, do you think?
Well, look, that's a great question. I'm hoping it is a groundswell. Look, New York needs to wake up and recall this guy. And they need to do it like yesterday. This is so dangerous, so bad, so threatening. And what could maybe be the culminating issue here is when they actually go into 9/11 in a month from now.
Good point.
To recognize that 25 years later, and you now have a mayor who literally represents theologically and philosophically the group that killed all the people in New York.
And he even gave a justification about why maybe it was deserved. It's such a bizarre thing.
It is, and it's evil. It's just flat evil. And I think the other thing that the socialists, the Democratic Socialists of America need to understand, and I don't think they do because they're crazy too, that Mamdani is using democratic socialism to advance who he really is, which is a radical Muslim. And until you understand that part, everybody's getting caught up in socialism. He is using socialism to advance who he is theologically as a person, and his mantra as a person of how he was raised and what he believes in. And let me tell you, socialism is just a tool to get him there, to get him in place to control. Now, yesterday he's announcing the grocery store thing in New York and all this and that, and cutting the prices of food by 30%. We will be announcing sometime around the end of August, certainly by the end of September, we'll be talking about grocery stores going broke in New York and rationing coming out.
It happened in Kansas City. They had to close down their socialist shopping centers there, their grocery stores.
So hopefully, New Yorkers, this is the beginning of a pushback. And New York is a beautiful city that needs to be rescued, kind of like San Francisco needs to be rescued, Seattle needs to be rescued. And the only people that can do that are the citizens. And so we'll see where this goes. But this guy is really bad news for the world. And the only thing I can say is that I would hope that New Yorkers say, all right, the people that are really paying the bills are leaving town. Will Wall Street leave? I mean, if Texas opens up its own exchange, which they're going to do.
You mentioned that, yeah.
It could eclipse Wall Street, and the business hub of the world will move to Texas. What's left in New York? A bad theater?
and high taxes, yeah.
So it's pretty serious. It's really serious. All right, 1:30 on this Wednesday morning. Steve Johnson is going to take a break and lick a chicken wing.
If I had them, I'd do that.
And maybe we could coerce a Costco lasagna for lunch.
Ooh, that would be great.
I got to pray about that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way. Sing along.
Okay, welcome back. And, well, in the meantime, I think earlier you were telling me, Steve, that some missiles were fired.
Yes, Iran apparently fired about 5 missiles into Jordan. I mean, talk about any friends you might have. They have none. Not that Jordan was a big friend, but certainly won't be now. They were trying to hurt some American soldiers that were there, but guess what? All 5 were intercepted. But that does not do anything good because President Trump has come out with a rather explicit tweet. I think the pause we've had could very well be over in moments.
Okay. Let's check in with CBN News and get the latest on what's going on in the Middle East.
After 2 weeks of fighting, President Trump may be hitting pause in the strikes against Iran. But as shown by this image he posted Sunday on Truth Social, Trump is making it clear America's military posture in the Middle East hasn't changed, even as he gives more time for negotiations.
As the president said, we are locked and loaded. Even more assets are going into theater. But he's giving talks some space. He's giving it a little bit of room.
Despite reports of dwindling munition stockpiles, the Trump administration says the U.S. military is poised to attack should diplomacy fail.
We are rebuilding with cheaper, faster, more technologically capable as we are conducting this campaign. And so there should be no doubt that the military has what it's needed and is moving even more assets into the region.
Iran is also pausing strikes, but warning it will expand the war if the U.S. resumes. Israeli officials believe President Trump will eventually be forced to escalate the conflict, arguing Iran is unlikely to make the concessions Washington demands. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu left Jerusalem earlier today to meet with President Trump tomorrow. The Times of Israel is reporting that Netanyahu will present Trump with new evidence showing that Iran is already working to rebuild its nuclear program. The regional chessboard is also shifting. The U.S. says Turkey has yet to meet the conditions required to obtain American F-35 fighter jets. And while Syria's new leadership is now seeking a security agreement with Israel, a fragile four-year truce between Saudi Arabia and Yemen's Houthi rebels appears to be unraveling. But one of Prime Minister Netanyahu's sharpest battles right now isn't in the Middle East, it's in New York City.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people.
Netanyahu says these words are fueling anti-Semitism.
And look at what he's doing. He's fomenting hate. He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone. But he's trying to turn one group against the other, and he's foisting hate and fear. I speak to Jewish Americans in New York, and they're afraid right now. And I don't think it's accidental.
Netanyahu says he plans to visit New York in the future, despite past arrest threats from Mamdani. But the prime minister is more concerned for the safety of others, especially at a time of surging anti-Semitism.
And I think that's part of this incitement language that is sweeping a lot of circles with anti-Semitism, a lot of circles in the West, in the United States, and unbelievably, in New York City, which has the second largest Jewish population in the world after Israel. And I think it's wrong. The whole thing is wrong.
Paul Petit, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Before leaving for the U.S., Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu noted it will be his 8th time meeting with President Trump, more than any other international leader.
We will discuss all the issues on the agenda, first and foremost Iran. Naturally, our goal is to safeguard our security and also to expand the circle of peace around us.
Israeli media reports that Netanyahu pushed the Security Cabinet to approve deployment of the International Stabilization Force in Gaza, even though Hamas is not disarmed, in order to firm up his meeting with Trump. Reportedly, the White House would only schedule a meeting if Netanyahu had some diplomatic achievement to present, and he chose Gaza to prove they're making progress. President Trump, meanwhile, says the Iranians really want to make a deal.
Pretty much destroyed their military. They want to meet, and we're meeting. We'll see what happens. There's a chance we could make a deal. Without what we did, they wouldn't even be talking to us.
Speaking to reporters on Air Force One, Trump said the Strait of Hormuz is in good shape, and if Iran doesn't make a deal, the U.S. will return to what they were doing before. He also said that, contrary to reports that U.S. munitions are running low, the stockpiles are good.
We have a lot of the mid-level stuff, too. I mean, more than we could ever use, no matter what. But we have a lot. I'd like to have more, to be honest. So we're building it very rapidly. Plants are being built. A lot of equipment's being built. The Patriots, in particular, are being built.
While Israel remains quiet, some Israelis are sending a message to the American president. Posted on several buildings along the train route through Tel Aviv are banners saying, "Mr. President, finish the job." Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Wow.
Okay. It's hard to... There's so many moving parts there. All right, good morning to you. 20 minutes before the hour, let's check out the weather. It looks pretty nice around the region.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies continue with highs in the low 80s for Vancouver and Portland. Wilsonville reaches 85, while McMinnville tops out at 83 under mostly sunny conditions. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny conditions continue with highs in the low to mid 80s. Salem reaches 84, while Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene become sunny with afternoon temperatures from 82 to 84. Central Oregon stays sunny with Brineville reaching 90 and Bend and Sun River 87 under clear conditions. Boise is smoky and turns sunny and hot with a high of 97. Along the Oregon coast, decreasing clouds in Coos Bay bring a high of 69. Port Orford turns mostly sunny near 67, while Brookings and Crescent City begin with patchy fog before becoming mostly sunny with highs of 57 and 64. In southern Oregon, sunny weather continues with highs near 91 in Grants Pass, 93 in Medford, 89 in Ashland, and 90 in Klamath Falls. Lows tonight fall back into the mid to upper 50s. Across Northern California, sunny skies continue with Wairika reaching 90, Redding climbs to 102, and Chico to 99 under sunny and hot conditions, while Fort Bragg stays mostly sunny with a high of 64. In the Bay Area, sunny weather continues with highs near 90 in Santa Rosa, 87 in Napa, 75 in San Francisco, and 86 in San Jose. Lows tonight settle into the upper 50s. For Central California, sunny and hot conditions continue with Sacramento reaching 97, Stockton and Modesto climb to 95, while Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield both reach 100. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, a little bit of a picture of our backyard this morning, and looks pretty good, but it is dry, so be very, very careful out there. All right.
I think many times we hear terms that are being used about, let's say, the phrases of the day that you see in the news, and you go, well, I think I know what they're talking about. Or else you just say, I don't want to sound stupid, so I'll just kind of nod like I know what they're talking about. Do the people who are using the terms even know what they're talking about? Well, Bradley Green from Crossway explains two terms that we have heard in the news quite a bit, and the difference between critical theory and critical race theory.
So it's a good question, how to think about critical theory and critical race theory. So critical theory is older. Think of it as the older dad or grandpa, uncle. And critical race theory is downstream a bit. But it's not an easy or easily identifiable relationship. It's not as if critical race theory just said, well, let's adopt everything about critical theory and add race. I would take critical race theory to be more of a nephew, great-nephew to critical theory. Critical race theory would be generally progressive, Marxist-leaning, where critical theory is explicitly Marxist and transformed, reworked Marxism. But critical race theory is an attempt to put race front and center in terms of how to make the world right, where the critical theorist, besides economics and traditional Marxism, it was culture that was front and center for the critical theorist. For critical race theorists, clearly race is front and center, and that was not a particularly big emphasis for the critical theorists, with one exception. Herbert Marcuse, one of the four main theorists I treat in the book, his student Angela Davis was very much of a, she herself, a black woman, was an activist, a communist, and you could see a line from Marcuse, a critical theorist, Angela Davis, clearly a race activist, to later critical race theory. But it's more, I would say it's a nephew rather than your firstborn son or something like that.
Little brain scratcher.
Yeah.
Follow that. Well, yesterday was, again, the memorial for Senator Lindsey Graham, the late senator from South Carolina. And Franklin Graham spoke there at the National Cathedral, and here's what he had to say.
Of Scripture that gives us a little glimpse as to what is coming for those that have put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ. A reading from the Revelation to St. John. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among men. He will dwell with them as their God. They'll be his people, and God himself will be with them. He'll wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I'm making all things new." Also, he said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true. Then he said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life. Those who conquer will inherit these things, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. The word of the Lord.
And that was one of the last comments during the memorial service there.
Great stuff. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative for the Fresno Visalia area on new full-power KEDZ TV. Seen on cable, satellite TV, and over the air. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative for the Fresno Visalia area on new full-power KEDZ TV. The world has a view, but God has the vision. That's what sets the Vision TV show apart. The Vision is an inspirational talk show that elevates voices of faith through powerful conversations, highlighting changemakers making a difference, blending heartfelt storytelling with practical insight, encouraging viewers to live life with clarity, compassion, and vision. Join Alveda King and friends for The Vision, Tuesdays right here on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. 11 minutes before the hour. Stephen Perry with you. As we speak, Dr. Fauci is before a Senate hearing, and already the sparks are starting to fly. I think we have just a little bit of the one person that Dr. Fauci doesn't like, and that's Senator Rand Paul. And there's a little bit of an exchange here. Do we have that, Scott? I think we do.
Actually created a website, and we put all of the information on the website. It continues to operate. The reason it hasn't been accessed is no Democrat ever signed up for it. Not one Democrat. We told them the access. They never asked for the access code. They haven't been on the website because they have not cared about the investigation. It's a practice of this committee to swear in the witness. Dr. Fauci, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Dr. Anthony Fauci, you are recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Peters, members of the committee, I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Over that period, I proved that I believe in and respect the value of legitimate congressional oversight. In fact, I testified before and/or briefed Senate and House Senate and House committees well over 200 times over those 38 years.
We're going to hear bits and pieces of this all day long. That actually happened a few moments ago, so this is going to be really interesting, but we'll stay on top of it. This is going to be pretty earth-shattering. I would say give this about an hour and a half. It'll be headlines all over the place. Yesterday, I had Richard Lyons on. He's quite the historian. And I asked him, does he see any parallels with America compared to other civilizations in the past that have failed? Interesting question. Here's what he had to say.
I would equate our country today, the Democrat Party, with having a willfulness that I would equate to the French Revolution, the Jacobin takeover of the assembly when they started attacking their enemies. And when they ripped apart 1,000 years of their civilization in order to assume a monolithic power based on the mob. I think this is where, if you look at the DSA statement, their platform, their plank, whatever you would call it, that is what they are tending to. They want to get rid of the presidency, the Supreme Court, the Senate. These are things that were established at our founding in order not to proceed as the French Revolution did. It's in order to have checks and balances, and the Democrat Party, Perry, has been working, incrementally for 100 years to lessen the power of one of the checks and balances, the states themselves. They've been working very hard to bring all legislation of the country into one central place, and that being Washington, D.C. They've worked for 100 years to establish the administrative state, wherein rules with the effects of laws are pronounced and they aren't even legislated, they're enforced through the agencies. And this, again, is contrary to the idea of checks and balances. So what the DSA is, and again, you asked me what it reminds me of, they have an arrogance that I would make akin to Athens when they again became more or less affected by mob rule. They threw out all the moderating voices of Athens and attacked a fellow democracy, Syracuse. Out of arrogant party is right there.
Quite a parallel.
Yeah.
If you didn't understand that part of history, you kind of scratch your head on that. But here's the question with the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. Is America going to allow it to happen?
Well, I think back to the founders who said, this is the way that we have established this as a democracy if you can hold it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole thing. In our generation, are we not going to be able to hold the foundation that was put in place in the 1700s?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's the concern.
All right, stick around. Kind of following up on all this, Bob Justice will be in the house.
Oh, good.
Here in the studio with me for an hour. Pray for me.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, you should be.
No, he's a great guy. I like Bob.
All right.
Good guy.
Well, a little levity?
Time on this?
Oh, yeah, we got a little levity here. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a pretty serious day, but on the light side, it's always good to hear things that President Ronald Reagan said. I don't even remember him saying this, so this will be news to me as well as to, I think, a lot of our viewers and listeners. He tells a joke about an elderly couple, and what was it? Well, they just wanted an evening snack.
It is a story about an elderly couple who were getting ready for bed one night, and she said, "Oh, I just am so hungry for ice cream, and there isn't any in the house." And he said, "I'll get some." "Oh," she said, "you're a dear." And she said, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce." He says, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce." She said, "Write it down. Now, you'll forget, dear." He said, "I won't forget." She said, "Some whipped cream on top." And he said, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce, whipped cream on top." And she said, "And a cherry." And he said, "And a cherry on top." Oh, she said, "Please write it down. I know you'll forget." He said, "I won't forget. Vanilla with chocolate sauce, whipped cream, and a cherry on top." And away he went. By the time he got back, she was already in bed. He handed her the paper bag. She opened it, and there was a ham sandwich. And she said, "I told you to write it down. You forgot the mustard."
Oh,
he was.
Is this what it means about getting older?
We need that. We need that. All right, take with you a very powerful scripture today. This ought to be the foundation of your day. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let that be your mantra for today.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser, producer and host of The Ancient Church. Join me Sunday evenings as we explore Orthodox Christianity, its history, theology, worship, and living tradition.
The Ancient Church, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Wednesday, teens talking with chatbots.
This could feel like the chatbot really knows them and knows things about them.
With deadly results.
These chatbots, they don't have judgment, they don't have morals.
How you can protect your child online.
They continue to miss signs that a human would pick up on.
And actress, producer, and CEO of Candy Rock Entertainment, Candace Cameron Bure, shares her wild hope Wednesday.
Washington Watch with Tony Perkins is your watchful eye on the nation's capital. Every weeknight, covering current events, issues of faith, family, and freedom from a conservative Christian perspective.
Washington Watch, thanks so much for joining us.
Bringing you up close to newsmakers, members of Congress, and prominent pro-family leaders from across the nation.
That's just the tip of the iceberg of the threats and the dangers that children are facing online.
Tony is the president of the Family Research Council, a former state legislature, ordained minister, police officer, and veteran of the Marine Corps.
Terrorism experts are sounding the alarm.
And welcome to the Washington Watch News Desk.
Washington Watch with Tony Perkins is your leading source for what's really happening in our nation's capital.
Well, this is a state issue. The federal government shouldn't be forcing these states.
Don't miss Washington Watch with Tony Perkins. Weeknights at 6, only on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative. Hunters, where the true target is the truth of the gospel. Watch Twin Factor Wednesdays and weekends on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative. Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Mr. Steve Johnson is here. He's got the southern part of the country anchored down, ready to go.
Yes, I'm in control of all of it.
You should be. Any rain? Did you get your monsoon yesterday or not?
No, we didn't. No, it's a little humid today, but I don't think there's any rain in the forecast. It's going to be upper 90s like it was before.
Okay.
It's kind of like some of the areas, where the Dove is.
Yeah, we're on the warm, not hot side, but we're on the warm side. Anyway, good morning to you. A ton of news today. Wow, a lot going on. As we speak, Dr. Fauci is being drilled in the Senate committee about the conflict between what he said publicly and what he wrote in his diary. A little bit of a problem there. So we'll see where this goes. I often wonder sometimes on stuff like that, what's the strategy of letting people know what you're going to do before you do it?
Yeah, I think they want to be transparent, if I can give the panel, the congressional panel, benefit of the doubt. But I don't know what they expect to get from him that he already hasn't either denied or said.
Well, they're going for the conflict. Apparently, the diary says one thing, and he said publicly something else.
Yes.
But you've also given him a heads up and a warning to prepare. Why don't you surprise him?
Yeah, I don't know. Surprising on a congressional hearing. I don't know. That would be interesting. Maybe there'll be some surprises. We'll have to see. That's why they're doing it.
All that's coming up. In the meantime, we have really a serious situation over on the east side and the northeast side. Central and northeastern Oregon is 1.1 million acres of ground is burning over there. We'll give you an update on that coming up in just a few moments. What else going on today?
Well, if you want to watch a Senate hearing, probably the best thing to do is to sit down with a big bowl of chicken wings. I mean, why not? Because the hearing might not be thrilling, but you'll be happy with the chicken wings in front of you. It is Chicken Wing Day.
Ooh.
And you made a good point asking what's the difference between chicken wings and buffalo wings?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's marketing.
Does one have fur and the other one has feathers?
No. Let's hope not. I'll never go back to them again.
By the way, can you
yes.
get an order of chicken wings, only right wings?
Only the right wing? I don't know that they segregate them out like that.
Just asking.
Yeah. Interesting question. Well, if you have a Republican National Convention, it's probably all right wings. So there you go. It's also National Lasagna Day. So if you don't like the chicken wings, go for the lasagna. There's so many different kinds of lasagna to get. I say both of them are good.
Yeah, they have Rosario's here.
Chicken wings and that. What's that?
Rosario's and Sicily's are the two places to get great lasagna. And then, of course, Costco.
Well, that's what you were saying. And, of course, you get enough for the whole neighborhood if you buy it from there.
It is really, really good. Even the vegetarian one is good.
Really?
Yeah, it's delicious.
I don't think I've tried that.
Oh, yeah. Give it a shot. Make your hair curly. It's good stuff. All right. Let's check out the weather and see which way that's going to go today.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies continue with highs in the low 80s for Vancouver and Portland. Wilsonville reaches 85, while McMinnville tops out at 83 under mostly sunny conditions. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny conditions continue with highs in the low to mid 80s. Salem reaches 84, while Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene become sunny with afternoon temperatures from 82 to 84. Central Oregon stays sunny with Brineville reaching 90 and Bend and Sun River at 87 under clear conditions. Boise is smoky and turns sunny and hot with a high of 97. Along the Oregon coast, decreasing clouds in Coos Bay bring a high of 69. Port Orford turns mostly sunny near 67, while Brookings and Crescent City begin with patchy fog before becoming mostly sunny with highs of 57 and 64. In southern Oregon, sunny weather continues with highs near 91 in Grants Pass, 93 in Medford, 89 in Ashland, and 90 in Klamath Falls. Lows tonight fall back into the mid to upper 50s. Across Northern California, sunny skies continue with Wairika reaching 90, Redding climbs to 102, and Chico to 99 under sunny and hot conditions, while Fort Bragg stays mostly sunny with a high of 64. In the Bay Area, sunny weather continues with highs near 90 in Santa Rosa, 87 in Napa, 75 in San Francisco, and 86 in San Jose. Lows tonight settle into the upper 50s. For Central California, sunny and hot conditions continue with Sacramento reaching 97, Stockton and Modesto climb to 95, while Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield both reach 100. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Beautiful shot of the from the east side to the west side, the shadow of the mountain still being cast out over the valley, and you can certainly see how dry it is. So be very, very careful out there. All right.
Well, Dr. David Jeremiah, we've got some comments from him today. And here's the idea. Jesus said he'll never leave us or forsake us. So if he's going to be with you, is he at home in your heart?
John 14:23 says, "If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and the Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him." That's what Almighty God wants. Paul is praying for the believers in Ephesus to experience this. Christ wants not just to be a resident in your life, not just your ticket to heaven. He wants you to be comfortable with him. He wants him to be a part of your daily existence. For me, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about when I wake up is the Lord. And I pray and I talk to him even before I'm totally awake. And many days, the last thing that I think about before I go to sleep is the Lord and what he's done and what he's working in my life. He wants you to be in that vein. He wants the Holy Spirit to bring Jesus Christ into your life, and that he would not just be a resident, but he'd be the president, and he'd be at home there. So here's a question to ask yourself. Is Christ at home in your heart? I'm not asking you if he's in your heart, because most of you already, you've taken Jesus into your heart. But have you made him comfortable? And I don't need to go into all the details of the things that can make Jesus uncomfortable, but you know what I'm talking about. Give him a place of honor and comfort in your heart.
What's the last thing you allow into your brain when you go to bed? Was it a news program? Is it a book that you're reading? You know, is it scripture? That's what I like about the Life Essential Study Bible with Gene Getz. You know, you can run your phone over that, and he'll give you a little lesson out of a portion of scripture.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something. I remember the late C.M. Ward. He was quite the preacher. He had the Revival Time broadcast of the Assemblies of God out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he was known for reading sports magazines before he went to bed.
Okay.
And when he got up to preach the next day, all of his illustrations were out of what he read. And
for him, it was a good thing.
And he got called on the carpet for it. But he had a pretty good answer. He said, well, it's kind of amazing what you say when you're under the anointing. That's how I kind of slipped.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, here I am. All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories for this Wednesday morning. In the meantime, one of the great events that happened yesterday, and yet sad, but certainly well done, was the recognition of the passing of Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina. His casket laid in state there in the Capitol Rotunda for quite a while yesterday, and there was a special service and recognition there. It was very moving when his sister came to the Rotunda and to pay her respects. And then the casket was moved to the National Cathedral, which is just a beautiful facility, and quite the array of dignitaries that were there, including the president and others that paid respect for him. And then he was flown into South Carolina for more of a private service there. But some of the highlights there, Steve?
Yeah, well, at the National Cathedral, President Trump said that Graham had an impact not only at home, but actually throughout the world.
It's a testament to his towering impact that among those mourning him here today are leaders, presidents, prime ministers from all over the globe. They're sitting right here before you. Lindsey met countless world leaders, yet wherever he went, he was always the same Lindsey Graham. When he met Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi in a tent in the desert, he told him, I expected something out of the Arabian Nights. This looks more like a Winnebago. That was not a good statement to make at the time. And when he met the Dalai Lama, Lindsey looked him straight in the eyes and said, so, can you really levitate? The Dalai Lama was not happy with that. But no matter how high he rose, he never forgot where he came from. There's probably not a single town in South Carolina where Lindsey did not help repair a bridge, expand a school, improve a hospital, or recover from a disaster. He was a force of nature, and I will miss him greatly.
So a little bit of heartfelt feeling there, but also some interesting stories there. I think we've all stuck our foot in our mouths, probably not to a head of state, but there you go. And I guess that was Lindsey Graham. I was amazed at how many people said he was just a funny guy. You just wanted to hang with him because he was always having something to say that would make you start laughing.
Well, he kind of had just a little bit of that southern homespun
drawl,
to
the
him,
charm.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
That was great.
asking the Dalai Lama?
Can you really levitate? No, but I can imagine Lindsey Graham doing that.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu was one of those sitting in the audience, and he made comments saying that Graham was really a friend of his country.
Lindsey Graham is a terrible loss. He was such a great friend, such a champion of America and a patriot, and such a champion of the Israeli-American alliance. He believed in the benefits that Israel gives to the United States in terms of intel, weapons technology, and of course we appreciated very much all the help that we got from the United States.
Well, yes, a great loss. And in the meantime, 12 people have filed for the special South Carolina Republican primary, which will be held coming up on August 9th to replace Senator Lindsey Graham. His sister, Darlene, has been appointed by the governor to sit in his seat through the end of the term, which will take her up through January. She has announced that she will run for the seat.
Yeah.
Apparently, she is getting the nod at the moment from the president, but 12 other people have announced, and there's quite the array of people. One of them that is perhaps the most recognizable at the moment is Russell Fry, Representative Fry. Apparently, he does come with the real possibility of winning that primary. We'll see. Then there's a bunch of other people that you probably wouldn't recognize, from farmers to doctors to former mayors of small towns and things like that. So it looks like
Trey Gowdy's name is not in that list.
It's not, and yet it was all over the media and social media that he was going to be in there, but apparently he is not. And so, and yet, I don't know when the filing date is up. Maybe they can file right up to the last minute.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
But here's the deal. They will have the special primary on August 9th there in South Carolina. And when you have a crowded field like this, there's a high probability no one person would get 51%. We'll have to wait and see. So if there is no one person that has 51%, then the remaining two highest people will run off on the 19th. And they will become the candidate for the midterm election in November. So all of a sudden, that field got really, really crowded. So pretty amazing there.
Well, following that memorial service, the president was very busy with meetings with Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine and also Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, who were both, of course, as we mentioned, at that particular memorial. And following that, we're not sure all the details of what they talked about. But Netanyahu, meeting with Trump, says it was actually a very good meeting that they had, as brief as it was.
When I say excellent, it's not just lip service. It was a conversation of full partnership, of mutual support with an understanding of the shared goal to ensure that Iran will not have nuclear weapons. It was one of the best conversations I've had with the President of the United States, our friend Donald Trump.
Okay. The question remains, how are they going to denuke Iran?
Yeah.
We don't know what the whole plan is, but apparently after the attacks of last night with these rogue missiles being fired over to Jordan, it has kept the president on edge, and he says he's going to respond. So we'll see where this is going to go. In the meantime, Dr. Anthony Fauci, as you know, he was kind of the big person in front of all the COVID mess. He is testifying today before a Senate hearing, and he is under a full amnesty, pardon, so to speak, I should say, from President Biden, and immunity, not amnesty, immunity. So in the meantime, they're saying that the immunity may not include perjury. So Senator Roger Marshall, he's been very outspoken about this, and here's what he had to say.
We need to hold Anthony Fauci accountable. Those folks, we lost over 1 million Americans to COVID. We had 20 million Americans with long COVID. So we need to know the truth here. Yeah. To your point, he exaggerated to Congress the mortality rate by a multiple of 10, not just a little bit, but by a multiple of 10. In late January 2020, he was saying that this virus, he himself probably knew where it came from, but he was describing this event at the dry market outside of the Wuhan lab. He described that as a spreader event, but he presented that to America as where the virus started from. Look, he misled the president, he misled the American people, and then he obstructed Congress. Very consistently, we see two different worlds here. The world in Anthony Fauci's diary versus what he was telling the American public.
All right, so you got a lot on the table. Apparently his testimony conflicts with his diary. There's even problems with his connection to the Wuhan lab financially. There's those issues. He misled Congress. He misled the president. Where is this going to go? I don't know. I think we have a little bit of a clip now. The hearing started a little while ago. Interesting. The person who is chairing the committee, who's now drilling Dr. Fauci, is Dr. Rand Paul. And they don't get along very well. They're not the best of friends. But I think we have a little clip of how it's going. I don't know where this is from.
Whether or not the intelligence community is adhering to that order. There's a question of whether or not gain-of-function research is still ongoing. And these are important questions the American people deserve to know. Dr. Fauci, have you been read into any classified Department of Homeland Security program, any prospective special access program concerning gain-of-function research?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
When we look at the research in China, the gain-of-function research that you've denied was gain-of-function, one of the things that startled the scientists when they saw COVID in the first couple of weeks was when they looked at the sequence of it, they said, oh my God, there's a furin cleavage site in it. And in this particular family of coronaviruses, the Sarbeco-viruses, they'd never seen this before. They were also startled to look at it and see how it was coded for, what the codons were, and to discover that the codons used out of 36 different possibilities turned out to be the one that was commonly used in gene manipulation by scientists. Dr. Fauci, were the scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology capable of inserting a furin cleavage site into a coronavirus?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So one of the experiments that was pretty common.
We can see where this is going to go.
I kind of thought that might be. That's unfortunate.
He's going to declare the fifth. Yeah, so the question is, can this be, what they're going to have to do here, they're going to have to go ahead and put everything out on the table and let him continue to declare the fifth. But they have to get it out all on the table in order to see if there is a potential prosecution here that would eclipse the immunity, blanket immunity that he's received.
Yeah, if all he says is, I'm not going to answer, I don't know how they can get any information or evidence to do that. So we'll see. It's very unsatisfying for a guy who was the head. He was the guy who was telling us everything about COVID that we needed to know about, supposedly, in 2020.
So is this now an admission?
Some might say so. Others would say, well, I don't know. He didn't say anything. So,
yeah.
Okay. Difficult. Yeah.
Pretty wild out there. All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do events in the world leave you confused and scratching your head? A world where up is down and down is up.
I'm Perry Atkinson. Mornings on the Dove knows how you feel. We're here to offer God's hope and encouragement and to help you to sort it all out.
And I'm Jerry Bilden. Mornings on the Dove alerts you to issues and events the mainstream media would rather you not know or know the truth.
A lot in the news today, some movement around in the Middle East, common sense discussions on today's headlines, and rational perspective on what's really going on.
That will leave you better informed and encouraged by the gospel.
In this upside-down world, there's one place you can trust to get it straight.
Check into Mornings on the Dove each day to find out what's really going on and to be encouraged.
Mornings on the Dove, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on the Dove TV and radio. Streaming online at thedove.us, Roku, and Apple TV. The Dove, encouraging and informative. Tackling the tough issues facing America and our nation's freedom. That's Sekolo on the Dove TV.
DAs around the country finding who they want to prosecute and then determining what crime they could charge them with.
You can't believe this is the country we're living in, that this is happening.
A bold half hour hosted by ACLJ's Jordan and Logan Sekolo, taking you inside the battle of constitutional and political freedom, discussing issues that matter to you and your family.
This is just not the right precedent we want to be setting, even if we don't like Donald Trump.
This is just all-out chaos, and that's what could happen very soon.
Watch Sekolo for issues that matter to you, addressing the problems of Christian rights in the workplace, school, the marketplace, and protecting human life.
I hope this doesn't have to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Be in the know with Sekolo. Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday only on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. 22 minutes past the hour. Stephen Perry back with you here. A little bit of an update in our backyard. I say our backyard, our state. The state of Oregon is just an unbelievable fire. It's just 1.1 million acres are burning in the state of Oregon. Wow. That map right there is what they call watch duty. And if you see all those red spots up there, primarily Oregon. And we would say central Oregon to the northeastern part of Oregon is burning. 6,000 people in Oregon now are under what they call the level 3 go now evacuation. People at the Warm Springs Reservation have been evacuated, just to mention a few. And the fires are absolutely horrendous. The Bench Fire, 40,000 acres. The Aqua Fire, 27,000 acres. The Hay Creek Fire Complex, 173,000 acres. The Roe Complex, the Roe Creek Fire Complex fire, which a bunch of them burning together there, 300,000 acres burning. That is 33% contained. Outside our window here, our door, really outside the door, on one side we have 3 tankers. On the other side, we have 3 tankers. You can't really see that. Sorry about that. But that is the Electra, and then across way over there, 2 DC-10s on the other side of the airport. That was taken before sunrise this morning. And on the other side, we have another Electra at the tanker base, along with the DA, and they're all ready to go. And they're there, ready to be launched. These planes here are leaving this airport, Medford, and flying over to central Oregon and northeastern Oregon to fight the fires. And so that's what's going on out there. Pray for these people. It is hard, dangerous work, and it is really not a good situation over there. Pray that the wind dies down. That's probably the biggest problem, is the wind. So anyway, that's what we got
just
going.
Briefly, a couple days ago, we told you about the wildfires also in France and Spain, and apparently they're getting a grasp on them, a hold on them, to actually reduce the spread significantly. It's still a big problem, though. Europe, is having their heat wave as well, and so this causes a problem in that area. But the good news is they are seemingly getting a hold of their fires that are near the wine country of Bordeaux.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's expensive.
That's a big, that's a huge financial impact if it hits that wine area with all the vineyards.
That's the expensive stuff. All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for this Wednesday morning. And thank you, Preston. He helps us with this. He has Smart Lawn and does a good job of that. If you're smart, you'll talk to him. You won't mow again. Whoa, the Dow's not happy today. Whoa. Yeah. The Dow's off 647 points. The NAS is down 97 1/3. And the S&P down 26, almost 27 points. So deep red ink at the ringing of the bell this morning, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the Middle East. That's pushed gold down to $4,000 an ounce. Silver's at 57, and crude oil's up a little bit at $90, but that's down from where it was a couple of days ago, where it's close to $100. So kind of a mixed bag at that end. So that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, speaking of finances, on Fox Business News, it was interesting. They talked on a topic that's a little bit away from finances, but it does impact that for sure. And this clip of the Democratic Socialists of America co-chair Megan Romer, She confirmed the agenda and says of the DSA and says this is part of a broader strategy to make the DSA agenda mainstream.
The Senate is an anachronistic institution. It comes from the British House of Lords. It is made to protect power for, the Senate was part of the system that was made to make sure that the people didn't have too much of a say. The open borders is part of a longer-term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and we destabilized their country. We did that.
She's talking about not just getting rid of the Senate, but she was talking about, and the DSA in general is talking about replacing the presidency. They don't want to have a president. They don't want a Supreme Court. They want to abolish ICE. They want to defund the Pentagon. They want people to come into the country illegally, no borders, phase out prisons. I could go on and on. And I am worried about it in the long term, and here's why. I think back to 1993, in Bill Clinton's first term, when Hillary Clinton wanted to push aggressive health care reform. It was in the first year of his presidency, and there was a bad reaction to that. She had to back off of it. Second term, we all know that Clinton went more towards the center, tried to work on both sides of the aisles to get things done. He was doing that as he was moving into his election because he wanted to keep the White House. Having said that, it was only March of 2010 that the Affordable Health Care Act was brought into law, signed by the federal government by President Obama. So this is 17 years later, roughly, let's call it 20. Where we went from we don't want this to we'll take some version of this. And that's what I worry about with some of these concepts. And I also watch an interview like that and I say to myself, why are these people coming on our air? Where they know they don't necessarily have their audience, their base to speak to. It's to make their ideas more mainstream. It's even if you watch that and you say she is out of her mind, which I'm sure many viewers did, the more you hear it, the more the repetition sets in.
Yeah.
Think 20 years down the line, think 25 years down the line. She doesn't have to do everything on her list. But if they could do one or two of those things, you really start to fundamentally chip away at the system. So that's how I kind of see this. I mean, the fact that we're having these conversations seems crazy, but they keep pushing that into your consciousness so that everybody hears it, not just their followers, to see what they can grab at eventually.
I think that's a very good point.
She is spot on with that. That is brilliant.
You keep hammering it, soon you say, well, I've heard that before, and I've heard it for a long time. And it's not like, oh, it's a new scary idea. It's like, no, it's a scary idea that's been mentioned quite a few times.
So where's the integrity of the news media to not give them the airplay?
Or to put it into context, let's say that way, like what we're trying to do right now.
Good stuff. All right, let me see if we can slip back to the hearing. We now know that Dr. Fauci is declaring the fifth on all of his answers before the Senate hearing this morning. But that doesn't stop the hearing because each senator is going to go ahead and make their point so that it gets on the record. And I think we have a little bit here of Senator Hawley questioning Dr. Fauci.
6. When he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you? You got rich. While people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich, and not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally, cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
She was your personal assistant. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020 when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Volker says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID? He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It was a $900,000 cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got it because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder. Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service, you've got the Adelson Prize, you've got the Smithsonian Award, you've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award, you've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, you turned your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are,
well, what are you going to do with that?
I think they knew that that's the response they were going to get. So they said, hey, we're just going to move forward and make the allegations. And then will the media follow up on this? We'll see.
So does the blanket immunity cover perjury?
If they find that he perjures himself, it probably doesn't. But all he's saying is the Fifth Amendment pulling
Well,
that
they're
out.
laying the case down, but then what we haven't seen yet, because we're not monitoring it 24/7 here, but what we haven't seen yet is what he has said on public record that contrasts what he has written behind the scenes. So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, that's what's going on. This is just it just makes you angry. It just really does. All right, so let's take a chicken wing break.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's
a hot wing break.
By the way, if you forgot the mustard on the ham sandwich, we'll be right back.
Your love is enough to light up the darkness. It's your love. All I ever needed is your love.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon. Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America. You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on theDove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs. Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching. Watch Real Life with Jack Hibbs Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on theDove TV.
24 minutes before the hour. Welcome back. Let's check in with CBN News. Our good friend Chris Mitchell. Give us an update because, well, Iran did some strikes even after the White House meeting. And here's an update.
U.S. Central Command says it intercepted multiple missiles launched by Iran in a surprise attack against U.S. forces in the Middle East. CENTCOM also announced that U.S. and Saudi Arabia carried out strikes on Iranian proxies in northern Iraq in response to drone attacks on Saudi oil facilities. The renewed military strikes come as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with President Trump in the Oval Office Tuesday. Netanyahu described the meeting as one of their best ever.
I just finished an excellent meeting with President Trump. When I say excellent, I don't mean it in a superficial way. A conversation with full partnership, with mutual respect, with an understanding of the common goal of ensuring that Iran does not have nuclear weapons and other goals as well.
Netanyahu's remarks also appear designed to silence weeks of speculation about tensions between the two leaders.
I think that it puts to bed these notions that there's major rifts between the president and the prime minister. There's a lot of common interests.
JNS Jerusalem Bureau Chief Alex Trayman says the meeting could help determine not only the next phase of the conflict with Iran, but also the future diplomatic landscape of the region.
These are two powerful allies that are working together both to set the strategy for the next stages of war with Iran, but also to set the next stages of peace in the Middle East, which includes normalization between Israel and Lebanon and potentially normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Beyond the White House meeting, Netanyahu also traveled to pay his respects at the funeral of Senator Lindsey Graham, one of Israel's strongest allies in Congress and a longtime personal friend of the prime minister. President Trump also renewed his warning that if diplomacy fails, the United States is prepared to strike Iran's heavily fortified Pickaxe Mountain nuclear facility near Natanz, one of the country's most protected underground nuclear sites. For both Washington and Jerusalem, the message is clear. While diplomatic efforts continue, both leaders are preparing for the possibility that the conflict with Iran could enter an even more decisive phase.
And Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. Chris, these strikes, do they, both by Iran and the U.S., really show both sides are ready for even more serious warfare than we've seen before?
Lori, it appears that way. Iran's surprise attack certainly represents an escalation. And it's really not the first time they've attacked a U.S. base in Jordan. That's where a couple of servicemen and women were killed just last week. President Trump, on the other hand, has said multiple times that he's ready to hit Iran even harder than before, maybe the hardest it's ever been hit by the U.S. He's talking about key infrastructure, talking about bridges that he says takes a long time to rebuild, power plants as well, that he says could set Iran back about 100 years. But he says he's also reluctant to do this since he knows any strikes like this is going to really hurt the Iranian people. So the question is, will they go back to the negotiations, or is the U.S. and possibly Israel going to the next level militarily? I know the sentiment here in Israel is they want to finish the job.
So this question has come up repeatedly in recent weeks. Is Israel likely and ready to get involved in this war again?
It could be a part of that conversation in the White House yesterday, and it was telling that there really was no press involved in the Oval Office. They certainly had their conversation, but they only allowed pictures to be released from that meeting. Here in Israel, there's really signs of a major escalation potentially, and some of the signs include there's dozens of U.S. air refueling aircraft that have landed in Israel, squadrons of fighters in the region. We also, in the last weeks or so, seen B-1 bombers come out of Israel. And Israeli here, alert levels are pretty much close to their peak. The Home Front Command has told soldiers not to expect call-up orders. Reservists have been notified. And we know municipalities have reopened public shelters. So Israel's taken this all very seriously. And so for the past couple of weeks, Israelis have looked at, the rest of the region getting hit, but it remains quiet here. And possibly because Israel has really established deterrence against Iran. And maybe they're afraid that if they hit Israel directly, they're going to get hit very hard by U.S. and IDF military.
Alex Tremaine of the Jewish News Syndicate, whom you cited in your story just now, says the meeting between Trump and Netanyahu could determine the future of diplomatic landscapes in the Middle East. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think one of the main things, Lori, would probably be possible normalization with Saudi Arabia. President Trump has linked that to maybe a civilian nuclear program for the Desert Kingdom. It was something Senator Lindsey Graham was working towards very hard, and it could include the expansion of the Abraham Accords, most notably Saudi Arabia. Also, Lebanon. President Trump just met with Lebanese President Aoun just last week as well. And so Netanyahu wants to have a green light to continue to operate in southern Lebanon. So that's perhaps part of the conversation as well, to help free the Lebanese government from Hezbollah. And also relations with Syria and Turkey could be part of that conversation, but they're much more challenging than some of these other issues.
Wow. A lot to think about, a lot going on over there. Boy, it'd be something if Saudi Arabia does come into the accord. That could change a lot of landscape over there. All right, let's check out the weather for you. Here it is on this Wednesday morning.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies continue with highs in the low 80s for Vancouver and Portland. Wilsonville reaches 85, while McMinnville tops out at 83 under mostly sunny conditions. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny conditions continue with highs in the low to mid 80s. Salem reaches 84, while Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene become sunny with afternoon temperatures from 82 to 84. Central Oregon stays sunny with Brineville reaching 90 and Bend and Sun River 87 under clear conditions. Boise is smoky and turns sunny and hot with a high of 97. Along the Oregon coast, decreasing clouds in Coos Bay bring a high of 69. Port Orford turns mostly sunny near 67, while Brookings and Crescent City begin with patchy fog before becoming mostly sunny with highs of 57 and 64. In southern Oregon, sunny weather continues with highs near 91 in Grants Pass, 93 in Medford, 89 in Ashland, and 90 in Klamath Falls. Lows tonight fall back into the mid to upper 50s. Across Northern California, sunny skies continue with Wairika reaching 90, Redding climbs to 102, and Chico to 99 under sunny and hot conditions, while Fort Bragg stays mostly sunny with a high of 64. In the Bay Area, sunny weather continues with highs near 90 in Santa Rosa, 87 in Napa, 75 in San Francisco, and 86 in San Jose. Lows tonight settle into the upper 50s. For Central California, sunny and hot conditions continue with Sacramento reaching 97, Stockton and Modesto climb to 95, while Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield both reach 100. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Picture of our backyard. It's clear, but it's very dry. Be careful out there.
Yeah. Well, there are some words sometimes, phrases that we use that are like, do I really understand what they mean? Well, it's always a difficulty, but Bradley Green from Crossway explains the difference between two of them, and they sound very similar, but they're not. And one of them is critical theory, the other is critical race theory.
So it's a good question, how to think about critical theory and critical race theory. So critical theory is older. Think of it as the older dad or grandpa, uncle, and critical race theory is downstream a bit. But it's not an easy or easily identifiable relationship. It's not as if critical race theory just said, well, let's adopt everything about critical theory and add race. I would take critical race theory to be more of a nephew, great nephew to critical theory. Critical race theory would be generally progressive, Marxist-leaning, where critical theory is explicitly Marxist and transformed, reworked Marxism. But critical race theory is an attempt to put race front and center in terms of how to make the world right, where the critical theorist, besides economics and traditional Marxism, it was culture that was front and center for the critical theorist. For critical race theorists, clearly race is front and center, and that was not a particularly big emphasis for the critical theorists, with one exception. Herbert Marcuse, one of the four main theorists I treat in the book, his student Angela Davis was very much of a, she herself, a black woman, was an activist, a communist, and you could see a line from Marcuse, a critical theorist, Angela Davis, clearly a race activist, to later critical race theory. But it's more, I would say it's a nephew rather than your firstborn son or something like that.
Okay. I don't know if that's splitting fine hairs, but that's kind of interesting. All right. Well, as we know, yesterday was an amazing day in recognition of the late Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, and Franklin Graham spoke at the memorial, and here's what he had to say.
It's your scripture that gives us a little glimpse as to what is coming for those that have put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ. A reading from the Revelation to St. John. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among men. He will dwell with them as their God. They'll be his people, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I'm making all things new." Also, he said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life. Those who conquer will inherit these things, and I will be their God, and they will be my children." The word of the Lord.
The Grahams never miss an opportunity to give the gospel. Never.
Right.
Wonderful. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
And he calls me redeemed. When others say I'll never be enough, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is in me.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Jerry's Historical Archives. U.S. history. Great moments in time. Record breakers. Our music through the years. Historic leaders. Moments to remember. Go back in time. Back in the day. TV shows of the past. Nostalgia.
It's a wonderful trip down memory lane with fun and interesting stories you might not know about. Relive the past and learn something new.
Open up Jerry's Historical Archives. Weekdays only on Mornings on the Dove.
Orthodox Christianity has existed for 2,000 years. Yet many people know very little about its history, its worship, or the ancient Christian faith it preserves. Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser. Join me each week as we explore the beauty and depth of this historic Christian tradition and its place in the modern world.
Don't miss The Ancient Church, conversations about Orthodox Christianity, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. 9 minutes before the hour. Stephen Perry with you. We're going to go to the hearing in just a moment, but before we do, I think we need a little Ronald Reagan levity, Steve.
Oh, we could do that. You want to skip to that? That's great, because Ronald Reagan said things that were always interesting. One that I only heard this morning. He told a joke about an elderly couple. And what were they doing? All they wanted was an evening snack.
It is a story about an elderly couple who were getting ready for bed one night, and she said, "Oh, I just am so hungry for ice cream, and there isn't any in the house." And he said, "I'll get some." "Oh," she said, "you're a dear." And she said, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce." He says, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce." She said, "Write it down. Now you'll forget, dear." He said, "I won't forget." She said, "Some whipped cream on top." And he said, "Vanilla with chocolate sauce, whipped cream on top." And she said, "And a cherry." And he said, "And a cherry on top." "Oh," she said, "please write it down. I know you'll forget." He said, "I won't forget. Vanilla with chocolate sauce, whipped cream, and a cherry on top." And away he went. By the time he got back, she was already in bed. He handed her the paper bag. She opened it, and there was a ham sandwich. And she said, "I told you to write it down. You forgot the mustard."
The problem with that is it's becoming a little too close to home.
It's true, yes. But they're still on the same page. They both forgot the same thing.
Well, there we go. Yeah, there's hope.
By the way, you were talking about the hearing. Just to let you know, Rand Paul ejected Fauci's attorney, apparently after telling him don't speak, and he was trying to interrupt the proceedings after not being recognized. So it's gotten a little tense today with Fauci speaking, Dr. Fauci speaking in that hearing today.
Okay, so here's Senator Ernst. She's talking to the doctor. Let's pick up a little bit of that conversation.
From 2009 to 2026 in biodefense and influenza federal contracts and subcontracts. My office uncovered records on usaspending.gov that show from 2015 to 2020, NIAID paid out $515,418 in subcontracts to Harbin Veterinary Institute in Harbin, China, including $100,000 a few days after it opened a BSL-4 biolab in 2018. That very same institute was criticized for doing gain-of-function bird flu research in 2013. And yet you were funding them for years after that, sending U.S. taxpayer dollars to China. These contracts, which we also trace to NIAID, show U.S. taxpayers funded gain-of-function researchers in the Netherlands and in Wisconsin, funding the same folks whose controversial work led President Obama to pause this exact type of dangerous pandemic research. Dr. Fauci, did you know that the NIH's billion-dollar Sears contract programs were funding gain-of-function researchers in China, the U.S., and in the Netherlands?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Dr. Fauci, Dr. Deborah Birx wrote in her book that you and President Obama's former CDC director were at a Saturday, March 14th, 2020 meeting at her home 2 days before the president announced his 15 days to slow the spread effort. Your now released diary said the meeting was a week before that. Dr. Birx said you all were trying to trap the president into having no other options. She wrote, your plan was to, quote, block any of the president's escape routes. So, quote, he'd have no choice but to agree to our flatten the curve measures. Yes or no, Dr. Fauci, did you try to block or trap President Trump into the slow the spread, flatten the curve measures in March 2020?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow, this is not making Fauci look very good.
He's in deep trouble. I don't know if the blanket immunity is going to hold. We'll see where this is going to go, but boy, this is going to be big news the rest of the day.
Yes.
All right, Philippians 4:13. Let this be your guiding scripture for today. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. There's a positive claim. Take that with you today and get busy. We'll be right back.
Creation is crying out, believe it or not, that there is a God. I believe it.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser, producer and host of The Ancient Church. Join me Sunday evenings as we explore Orthodox Christianity, its history, theology, worship, and living tradition.
The Ancient Church, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. Oh, shine.
The world has a view, but God has the vision. That's what sets the Vision TV show apart. The Vision is an inspirational talk show that elevates voices of faith through powerful conversations, highlighting changemakers making a difference, blending heartfelt storytelling with practical insight, encouraging viewers to live life with clarity, compassion, and vision. Join Elvita King and friends for The Vision, Tuesdays right here on the Dove TV. You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Chico and the North State. Seen on KKRM 11, Channel 21, and these Dove TV affiliates.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Not often, but when we do, we kind of jump up and down, and then yet at the same time buckle our seatbelts when Bob Just is in the house. He's here from New York. He's back into the state here for a little bit. Always a joy to have him. He's in the studio. Bob is a political commentator, founder of Concerned Families. He's a writer for Fox News, American Thinker, World Net Daily. He leaps tall buildings, he outruns locomotives, and he does have a website that's very confusing, bobjust.com.
It's simple enough.
There's a picture of the landing page. Those pictures on that landing page have been there 33 years now.
Going on 34.
Going on 34. Good to see you, Bob. How are you?
Good to see you, Perry.
A couple quick questions before we get the ball rolling
Yes, sir.
here. We're watching something unfold with Dr. Fauci before this Senate hearing. He's declaring the fifth across the line.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the Senate questioning is going to go on because they want to get on the record what they have found, which is in contrast to his testimony. Do you know, from your experience, President Biden gave him a blanket immunity. Some say that that cannot hold when it comes to perjury. Do you know?
Well, I know for sure that it doesn't hold for perjury after the pardon, which is why they're trying to get his comments on the record. They're trying to catch him at perjury after the pardon.
So they're going to be able to prove perjury with him still declaring the fifth, because all they have to do is ask the question, even though he's not going to answer it, but in the question will be his testimony of what he said versus what's in his diary. Isn't that?
You know, we're dealing with fine points of law. The fifth, when he takes the fifth, that is the two things they do is they take it in a situation like this, is they say, I don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Or they take the fifth. Mm. And if they take the fifth, you're talking about fine points of law. I don't, and I'm not a lawyer.
Okay. You play one.
They are, yeah. I never have played one on TV, as a matter of fact. But no, seriously, the issue at hand is the outrageous way he handled the situation. All our kids have been vaccinated. Most of them have been vaccinated. Was never necessary. So many things happened. You know, millions of people died across the globe. The whole issue of creating a dangerous, virus in China when we had decided not to do that. And then the game playing that went on behind the scene, the accusations to people who were trying to blow the whistle against him. It was really horrible what he did. Monstrous. Is not too wild a word.
No, it is.
And I hope they catch him on something. You know, even at his age, he should pay some price.
Well, I think what we're saying here is we all now see and know what he did was wrong. And the question is there a consequence when his wrong actions were intentional?
Yeah, and what frustrates many people, this goes to a larger problem in the country. What frustrates many people is they see people in the leadership ranks, can call them elite, whatever word you want to apply, the ruling class.
Right.
They see people do egregious things, and
nothing happens.
Nothing happens. There's never any price to pay, and that's very frustrating to people. Anyway, and Fauci is another example of that. I think they're trying to change that with him.
Okay. I want you to step back if you can. I know you always come in. You got notes. You're a former radio talk show host.
Yeah, podcaster soon.
Yeah, and you are an engineer's nightmare to manage because you don't know what brakes are. Okay.
I get on a roll.
Yeah,
right?
I've had you on the show enough that I have to stop you mid-sentence. Hey, sorry, the clock says this. Anyway, yeah. I'm making fun of you.
No, I know.
The point is, so let's step back. What do you think is the state of America today?
Distrust. And I think that, and I've been speaking to people, I live now in Manhattan, where I grew up. I lived for 23, 25, long time in Grants Pass, 23 years. And I talk to a lot of people, both in New York and here, and people are just wanting to feel trust again. And a lot of that has to do with the undermining of the left, including the culture. I mean, a lot of we've talked about these things for 20 years plus. But I think that a wonderful column was written, "The Death of History" by Niall Ferguson. I recommend everyone read it. And what he's talking about is historians, good historians like Niall Ferguson, famous historian, Victor Davis Hanson, other people like that, they're trying to connect people to true history, what really happened, so that we can draw conclusions and go forward living our life better because we've learned the lessons of history. And it's very dangerous not to learn the lessons of history.
Right.
Well, now what Niall Ferguson is talking about in The Death of History is you have these bots, you have these social media people. They say wild things, crazy things, dangerous things, anti-Semitism, doubting the Holocaust, I mean, and on, right? Which would also include undermining American history, undermining claiming that Churchill was responsible for World War II, all sorts of things like that. Well, the more wild the more wild your statements, the more hits you get. And apparently these bots, these AI bots, multiply that many times. So people who are stuck on their phones, right, are constantly getting hit with undermining statements, false facts, kind of harem scarum stuff. Just, in other words, it creates an atmosphere. I don't know what truth is. That's why I talk all the time, Perry, about gospel politics. What does Jesus say? I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay? Truth, you can just say truth is a person. God, man, Jesus Christ. So the way, love your neighbor, love your enemy. What does love your enemy mean? People are sinners. It doesn't mean love a person who comes in to kill your children and rape your wife. I mean, that's not what it means. People are sinners. We're all sinners. Learning to rise above other people's sin, to love them despite the pain they may cause you in one degree or another. So the way, love your neighbor, love your enemy, maintain an attitude of hope. And the truth is a man, Jesus Christ. Look into it. Read the Bible. Find out what God said. A book, the word wonderful, the word miraculous is too little for God's holy word. The life. Live for what's right. Always understand you live under a higher authority. Seek what's right. And from a standpoint of life, get married. Find a good woman, find a good man, have lots of children, raise those children right, live that way. And we've got to start, as Christians, we've got to start promoting to the left, because the left is in such pain because they do not understand the way, the truth, and the life. And they're very often not married, unhappy. They throw their entire reality as politics, which is the DSA people. You listen to these people; they're broken people.
I want to come to that a little bit later, but let me ask you: do you think, given what you just said, do you think we're heading into a turning point? Are we heading into an awakening? Are we heading into a takeover?
Wow. I think we're in such pain now as a country that, to me, when, the old story, when you're down in the gutter and you've lost everything, it's when you face you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
There's a point when you're so crushed that you say there's got to be a better way. And I think this country is in that state. I mean, my party is in complete disarray. They're going to have to make a stand against the DSA. DSA is, I want to say crazy, but they're not crazy. It is a spiritual craziness. You might say unsane. They're not insane, but they are unsane. When you think of their platform, and they just recently, as you know, Perry, I'm sure you've already talked about it. They just recently, declared their platform on Fox News Sunday. They're on the record as saying abolish the Senate, et cetera, abolish borders.
We have that clip, and I'll tell the guys in the control room, get that clip ready. We have that clip. But what I think is more important about what they declared, who they are, which is now no longer a conspiracy in the closet, they actually pointed it out, and Fox News listed it. From doing away with the president, doing away with the Senate, all the way down. It's what the commentator said at the end. We'll get that for you in just a moment. But the point you're trying to make here is, are we in shock and awe? Or are we in determination, we're not going to let this happen?
In terms of the DSA?
Well, just overall, the condition of the country.
Yeah, the condition of the country is, what's so, I told you I was down in Washington to spend the day there a couple of days before July 4th, just to soak up the fair and see the people and go around visit the different states. This country is such an amazing country. When I am reminded of that when I come back here to Southern Oregon and spend my time with all the people I know and work with in Grants Pass. What a country we are, and what we represent to the world. When those, those fans of FIFA, and they're saying, "My gosh, these are people who live under the propaganda of the media in Europe, right?
Yeah,
the anti-American propaganda."
They came here and they were shocked.
And they see friendliness, they see industrious people. We are an amazing people, but we have to understand the essence of propaganda, particularly communist propaganda, socialist propaganda, for my entire lifetime and way beyond. It's not about, communist propaganda is not about trying to persuade you of some crazy economic system that has been proven over 100 years not to work. Communist propaganda, socialist propaganda, is about undermining our confidence, undermining our country, getting us to believe false things about the relationship between men and women, getting us to believe false things about what capitalism means, what the free market is, right? I mean, communism is capitalism, but the government controls the capital.
Yeah.
It's undermining who we are as America. So when you see a party, increasingly, tragically, my party, which, as I told you last week, was why I might become an independent, and then say, the fight now, the problem for me is the fight now.
You okay?
The fight
you okay?
now.
Do I have to get you counseling? Right. Are you okay? Or did you take a pill or something?
Well, I'm just trying to get Democrats to vote Republican so the Democratic Party will wake up. I voted Republican for 40 years. But the point is, now the fight is my party has to decide who it is. And they cannot really resist the DSA and all its mad communist stuff, right? Because it's straight up communism. They cannot resist that by being communism light. They have to come back to an under God America. They have to come back to claiming the Declaration of Independence. Progressives have always rejected the Declaration because this thing about under God America.
So what happens to your element of the party? I mean, where are they? Are they stuck? Are they leaving? Where are they?
You're talking about the leadership or the membership?
Well, the membership and the leadership they have no leadership.
No, the leadership is in disarray.
Right.
The membership, I believe, in the next election, we may be surprised. I think the membership will. I mean, I hope
will vote.
I hope they'll vote Republican. I hope they'll understand that the way to save the Democratic Party is to reject the Democratic Party and the DSA, reject them, and force the leadership of my party to come back to America, come back to under God America. My party used to adhere to Christian principles.
Yeah.
Look, my party's always been very liberal. Even when I say I'm a JFK Democrat, I'm actually more conservative than John F. Kennedy. I wouldn't have ever wanted, federal unions. There are things that I'm against because I see that they're not good for the country. But the point is, when I was young, you could look at a Democrat and Republican and say, I generally am conservative, but that Republican candidate, I don't think he's qualified. I think this you could do that back then because the parties were
close.
I'm about to tell you a major propaganda if we have time. The parties were fairly close in what they believed. The Democrats were very anti-communist. I mean, the mainstream Democrats. The big propaganda of that age was both parties are the same.
Yeah.
So you don't have a choice. Which is wrong because what you choose is character, the person who's running.
Yeah.
You get to choose the person who's running. So their whole argument was the Democratic Party had to become more radical, more so that you had a choice. Well, excuse me, if my party's communist and the Republicans are pro-American, patriot, free market, etc., I don't have a choice. I don't really have a choice. I have to vote Republican, and that's my heart prayer for Democrats is they will not be blindly loyal to the blue.
All right.
Vote for America.
Let me take a break. We're going to come back. DSA stands for the Democratic Social America. They are no longer a conspiracy boogeyman in the closet.
They're winning elections in big cities.
Yeah, all right, we'll come back and we'll play a little clip for you because there's an angle to this clip. I don't know if you saw it. That to me is really telling. We'll be right back.
Do events in the world leave you confused and scratching your head? A world where up is down and down is up.
I'm Perry Atkinson. Mornings on the Dove knows how you feel. We're here to offer God's hope and encouragement and to help you to sort it all out.
And I'm Jerry Bilden. Mornings on the Dove alerts you to issues and events the mainstream media would rather you not know or know the truth.
A lot in the news today, some movement around in the Middle East, common sense discussions on today's headlines, and rational perspective on what's really going on.
That will leave you better informed and encouraged by the gospel.
In this upside-down world, there's one place you can trust to get it straight.
Check into Mornings on the Dove each day to find out what's really going on and to be encouraged.
Mornings on the Dove, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on the Dove TV and radio. Streaming online at thedove.us, Roku, and Apple TV. The Dove, encouraging and informative.
All right, welcome back. Bob Justice with us, live in the studio. We don't have that very often, but he's out on the West Coast and back here for a little bit. We're talking about a variety of things. I want to come back to the DSA. It's just the Democratic Socialist America. Now, before people get upset thinking we're being too political here, I think you need to understand there's a real warning here that you need to understand what's going on because these people are gaining elections. They are winning elections. And you know why they're winning elections? It's pretty simple. Because Christians don't vote. Oh. And I think we need to understand the reason these people, they now are on a roll. They have social media normalizing craziness. Social media is normalizing crazy. You see so much of it, sooner or later you become immune to it, and all of a sudden it becomes normal, okay? This clip is amazing. It starts off with a DSA person talking about what they want and what they're going to do, and the host beginning to give a little bit of a rundown of that. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to another person who's a commentator explaining what just happened. And it's pretty shocking. Take a look.
The Senate is an anachronistic institution. It comes from the British House of Lords. It is made to protect power for, the Senate was part of the system that was made to make sure that the people didn't have too much of a say. The open borders is part of a longer-term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and we destabilized their country. We did that.
She's talking about not just getting rid of the Senate, but she was talking about, and the DSA in general is talking about replacing the presidency. They don't want to have a president. They don't want a Supreme Court. They want to abolish ICE. They want to defund the Pentagon. They want people to come into the country illegally, no borders, phase out prisons. I could go on and on. And I am worried about it in the long term, and here's why. I think back to 1993, in Bill Clinton's first term, when Hillary Clinton wanted to push aggressive health care reform. It was in the first year of his presidency, and there was a bad reaction to that. She had to back off of it. Second term, we all know that Clinton went more towards the center, tried to work on both sides of the aisles to get things done. He was doing that as he was moving into his election because he wanted to keep the White House. Having said that, it was only March of 2010 that the Affordable Health Care Act was brought into law, signed by the federal government, by President Obama. So this is 17 years later, roughly, let's call it 20, where we went from we don't want this to we'll take some version of this. And that's what I worry about with some of these concepts. And I also watch an interview like that and I say to myself, why are these people coming on our air? Where they know they don't necessarily have their audience, their base to speak to. It's to make their ideas more mainstream. It's even if you watch that and you say she is out of her mind, which I'm sure many viewers did, the more you hear it, the more the repetition sets in.
Yeah.
Think 20 years down the line, think 25 years down the line. She doesn't have to do everything on her list. But if they could do one or two of those things, you really start to fundamentally chip away at the system. So that's how I kind of see this. I mean, the fact that we're having these conversations seems crazy, but they keep pushing that into your consciousness so that everybody hears it, not just their followers, to see what they can grab at eventually.
Yeah. That ought to make your blood run cold.
Yeah, and especially that the culture and the media are so influential in attempting to tell us what to think that it's going to be very important, I was going to say interesting, but this is not entertainment. I don't care about interesting. This is dangerous. It's stupid because it comes from a place of not even understanding what America is. And that's always been the problem. Our public schools, for the longest time now, have not taught civics, don't understand what America is. The very fact that the Democrats, the mainstream, moderate, whatever, regular leadership Democrats are talking about packing the court, and of course rejecting under God America, rejecting the Declaration of Independence. One prominent senator, I can't remember his name right now, but prominent, I think the Connecticut senator, no, it's actually the guy who had actually run for vice president at one point, actually said that anyone who thinks there's a higher authority than government is dangerous. He said something like that. Well, to say, and this is a prominent senator who was a vice presidential candidate, to say something like that means you do not understand America, okay? And if you do not understand America, that probably means you've not been taught what America is. So these people, if we don't start teaching America, teaching under God America in our public schools, then this will take over. What counters it, as I say, gospel politics, what counters it is for us to show forth the truth of America, not talking all the time about the sins or mistakes we made, but what is the truth of America? We need public schools that teach that. We can't have a country where people who want to learn what America is have to go to private Christian schools or independent schools. We need to be teaching that in our public schools.
Okay, we're not.
We're not.
Okay, so
and that's the battle.
So, all right, it is a battle, but the reality is, when you hear stuff like this, and I'm trying to figure out it just to keep it simple. If Christians who are eligible to vote register, number one, the reason they don't register is because they don't like any one of the parties. They don't like the Democrats, they don't like the Republicans, and they see all this fighting, they see this conversation, and they'd rather go have a root canal than register. So that's a problem. Even though you have the avenue of independent, they think, why bother? But if they would register, if they're eligible, and then convert that actually into a vote, the numbers prove, state by state, especially in the state of Oregon, we can sway any election. But when we have a 34% turnout in our own primary, it's disgusting. And when you hear stuff like this, which is to me a clarion call to wake up, because your religious freedoms are on the line. The ability for me and you and I to sit here on this television set and talk like this is on the line. I recently got elected to the board on the NRB after being a member there for almost 40 years. Well, I don't say that to brag. I say that because I wanted one reason. I wanted to be on one committee, and I got on the committee I wanted to be on, and that was the policy committee.
Oh, great.
And the policy committee has to deal with our right to talk the way we're talking this morning because it is under attack. And if they can get this microphone, they can get your pastor's microphone. And most people don't understand that.
And we lose that, and we lose America. I mean, that's what it is. We descend into chaos. The reason I feel hopeful is that we've been down so long. There's only one way, and that either we just completely collapse or we go up. We have revival. And the reason I always use the term gospel politics is, in a sense, to remind everyone that in the end, the way, the truth, and the life is what the battle is over. And so if you can say gospel politics, you can say anti-gospel politics. And you start to understand that politics increasingly is spiritual warfare. What's manifesting, that young woman with the young woman with the red glasses, you know, the DSA person, I'm telling you, if you were to see into her life, you'd find, I'm speaking generally, not just about that particular woman, but generally,
chaos.
You see broken family, you see unmarried, person, you see a core of unhappiness, unfulfilledness, if I can use that word, in their personal life. And so they're putting all their hopes and dreams, their focus, their passion into false politics, anti-gospel politics. And so they have a passion, a driving passion. Listen to what this woman said when she was talking on Fox News. We will, now again, this is a DSA co-chairman of the Democratic Socialist Party. We will win by making conditions so intolerable for the ruling class that they would rather give in to our demands than continue to live with the disturbance we cause until we are able to fully seize power ourselves. Now, when you say ruling class, I understand the way that term is used, but you see, we the people rule. We found that out in 2024. The American people, even in all the battleground states, voted Trump. The American people said, oh, no, you won't, to the era of Biden and COVID and all the madness that went on operating on children and the whole thing that we all know.
Right.
The American people said, oh, no, you won't. That's called ruling. That's called ruling. We are the ruling class, in truth, in terms of the way...
We the people.
We the people are the ruling class. Thank you, Perry.
Yeah.
We the people are the ruling class. That's what they don't like. What they want is to be the ruling class. That's how communism works. You have an apparatchik, which is what it was called, the elite in Soviet Union. Remember, the Soviet Union was called USSR. USSR stands for Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Okay, we are talking people who want to tyrannize us for our own good.
Yeah.
In their minds, we're going to rescue. You're going to rescue from the superstition of Christianity, from the dominance of the church. You know what happens in communist revolutions, like in Spain, where they start killing priests, they kill pastors, they kill. I mean, this is a communism, socialism by its nature, and you read what the DSA stands for. It's antichrist at essence. So we Christians, going to your point, Perry, we have to start thinking in terms of gospel politics. Why are we not inserting the way, the truth, and the life?
I think there's an answer to this, and it's an answer to a question we can't answer, and that is this: how do you really love your enemy when they hate you and they want you destroyed? How do you return God's love to that person? We have not figured out a way in our hearts and in our minds to do and to practice what we preach.
You know, I remember a wonderful woman in Grants Pass, Myrna Schoenfeld. We recently lost her. Very, very powerful, and her memorial's coming up soon, very powerful pro-life person who I got to know for many years, close to.
Loved her.
And she would describe being on the front line of the abortion issue. I think it was Operation Rescue, I don't remember, but it was front line, where you're face to face with people who are, you know, use a biblical quote, making mouths at you, as they did with Jesus. The hatred that you're talking about, the hatred, well, that kind of hate is spiritual attack. And the response to that, the proper response to that, is love, not responding to hate with returning hate.
Right.
That doesn't mean you don't vote. That doesn't mean you don't stand against them.
Yeah.
But you don't have to hate them.
Well, see, and that's my point. Can we stand in dignity and in decency? Because the world is teaching us to return hate with hate. That's not biblical. I remember Myrna Stangefield. She was a dear heart. I had her on the show many times.
I know you did.
And I remember when Operation Rescue was in the height of its influence, and she'd be down on the street and people would be in her face. And she was a strong Catholic woman, and she stood there and began to pray for them, even though they spat on her.
Yeah, she described it to me.
But her standing there was taking the position in what she believed.
Right. Right, absolutely, and she described the feeling that she had vividly. I remember vividly. I've had many conversations with her, as you know, Perry, like you, and she used to interview her and everything. She described it as demonic.
Yeah.
And so that kind of spiritual attack, you respond with proper spiritual, love. That's love your enemy. You don't hate. You don't return it with hate, but you stand. You stand.
Yeah, part of it is, in America, we're now dealing with the actual reality that we have to defend our faith, and we're not used to that. It started at the water cooler, now it's in the streets. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Okay, welcome back. Bob Just in the house, talking about a variety of things. Bob does have a website, bobjust.com. That's a good place to go and connect with him. He's back on the West Coast for a little bit, working with his friends in Grants Pass, concerned families. We'll come to that. I hope people understand that I'm going to get heat for all of this because that's just what happens. But the point being is, I think there is a time for righteous anger and frustration. It's how you handle it. I get that. But I'm really tired of being told, shut up and sit down. Mm-hmm. And I remember the late Dr. Dobson And I've had the opportunity to interview him on many occasions, and at one time, in fact twice, I went to Colorado Springs for special meetings where he was involved, and we sat down. And this man had a passion for family life, and he was a frontline warrior, and a lot of people misunderstood him. But today, he's being proven that everything that he fought for on behalf of the family was the right stand to take. And primarily, what happened is that every major concern of the family, from a biblical perspective, the left politicized it in an attempt to keep him and us out of it.
Right.
When we came to the issue of abortion, it became a political issue. And then what was the big thing about Christians being involved in the abortion fight? Separation of church and state. That whole issue popped up. What was that for? Push us out of the argument. Pastors stopped talking about it at the pulpit. Now we're dealing with the divorce rate in America, including Christians. It's been politicized. We don't talk about that. We're talking about gender confusion. It's clearly a biblical issue that's been politicized. We don't talk about that. Okay, and the list goes on and on and on. And you kind of go, okay, where's the breaking point here? You know, where's the breaking point here? I don't know. I mean, I'm just...
Well, the strategy, to put what you just said in another word, the word I use instead of politicizing is the controversial. Okay, they make everything controversial. That's a strategy. That's an actual strategy. So, I mean, I like rye bread. Huh? You like rye bread? Get a demonstration. We're going to have a demonstration out front for people who like rye. How dare you like rye? I take personal offense at that. You know, the reaction, the hostility that they express to you is a strategy. Okay, the demonstrations are a strategy. What do you mean defund the? You think that what I just said about rye bread is absurd? What do you mean defund the police? Defund the police? Are you serious? You know, ban ICE. In other words, they promote strategies of chaos, and so the process is to back us off from standing for everything. If it's controversial, I won't touch it.
Right.
Well, I know the argument, and I have compassion for the argument that I don't want to turn someone off because I don't want to turn them away from the gospel. Yep. If I stand for the gospel, I don't want to turn them away from that. But here's my thought on that. People are lost. Many, you know, a large percentage of the country don't know the Lord. They're lost. They're wandering. They're hungering for some way, some truth, some life. And we're the ones that have that. So if they see crazy things happening, like the gender thing and other things like defund the police, and they don't see the churches saying, "What do you mean defund the police? What are you talking about?" That leads, if they don't see that, then they don't. In their eyes, we're not standing for truth, because something absurd is going on and we're not saying anything about it. My church said nothing when Charlie Kirk was martyred, right? And I'm patient, you know, I don't overreact, but the reason is they didn't know anything about Charlie Kirk. They only know the controversial, oh yeah, he says this, he's a racist, he's that. In other words, that's scary. Wait a minute. I don't know. Can we stand with the? I have to look. Well, I think they've looked into it now and they regret that. But my point is, the left creates controversy. I accuse you of being a racist. Wait a minute. You know, they're accusing Perry Atkinson of being a racist. Maybe I should stay away from Perry. It's a strategy, people. It is a strategy.
Well, the latest one is I'm a Zionist. Okay, and so therefore the word Zionist has been demonized, and so I'm that.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker Carlson actually said, "I hate Christian Zionists." Now, when he was interviewing Huckabee, he said he regretted saying that. Yeah. But the problem is the quote is out there, right? Like, you know, and you know I'm part Jewish, but I'm a Christian Zionist. I also had family, so I have a family connection, but I'm pro-Israel for the same reason you're pro-Israel. And if they can make that controversial, right, they can make anything controversial. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It is a staunch ally. We have shared interests. And for us to start saying, oh, I'm going to turn my back on a staunch ally that is the only democracy in the Middle East, you're going to turn away from that to what? What are you going to turn toward? But they make everything controversial.
Let me give you the next controversy: Christian nationalism.
Oh yeah,
and
Christian nationalism.
Well, I've been hit with that numerous times.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I do? I ask them, tell me what you think it is, and they can't tell me.
Right.
So they've picked up the term because it's been used as a negative, as a kind of a chaotic thing to say, and it's a negative. Oh, you're one of those.
Right.
Trying to throw me into the category. And I said, just tell me what you think of Christian nationalists. And they can't give you the explanation.
Yeah, that again is a strategy that you take a term, the way the left does it, and again, they control the culture, you know, and they control the media, and they have the dominant media, you know, but the culture is really what they control. So they can take a phrase and over time just go, Christian nationalists, oh, Christian nationalists. They don't have to talk about it. All they have to do is react that way. Christian nationalists, Christian nationalists. Well, people in New York City, I used the term, and I said, well, wait a minute. I mean, I grew up, I believe God is a God of nations. I believe in the pilgrims. I believe in, you know, the covenant, and I believe this country is blessed by God. We are an under God country. I believe in my country. I'm a patriot. I love my country. I'm a Christian. I love my God. I'm a Christian nationalist. I mean, what are you talking about? Of course, any Christian who is a patriot, and I hope all Christians are patriots, are Christian nationalists. But what they do is, it's not about arguing. It's not about proving their point, making a logical argument. No, it's about a kind of
identity.
Categorize. Yeah, it's about attacking a phrase to make it sound evil. Okay. And they are successful at doing that because they control the culture. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves defending ourselves on a very harmless term, Zionist, Christian nationalists.
Well, the other thing I think we need to realize, and I've said this, and it's, okay, I'm not trying to position myself, but it's something I've repeated, and it can be backed up. And that is, just about every major denomination in the last 4 to 5 years in the world has divided over LGBTQ.
Right.
Every one of them. As to whether or not, now they've changed the term from LGBTQ plus whatever acronym you want to put into, to SSA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
SSA is like DSA. DSA is Democratic Socialists of America. SSA is same-sex attraction. So the term is, they got rid of all these other things and they put SSA in there. Okay, that somehow we have to accept SSA people into the ministry, into leadership. Okay, so what are we going to do with this? I mean, at some point, you can't run and hide. But let me tell you why you can't run and hide. One reason. One reason. Your children.
Your children.
Your children will inherit what you didn't get involved in.
Yeah, they have to, we Americans, of all particular viewpoints on that and other subjects we're talking about, have to figure out how to come to, because the alternative is ugly, how to come to an understanding of how to live together. And one of the key understandings we have to come to, in my opinion, is not in front of the children, okay? The children are off base. Get it out of the public schools. You're going to do what you're going to do as an adult, but don't be telling my child that, and not just the issue you're talking about, don't be telling my child that abolishing the Senate, replacing the presidency and the Supreme Court, abolishing ICE, abolishing borders, give amnesty to anyone who's currently in, defund the Pentagon, abolish prisons, government ownership of most large corporations. That's the DSA platform. Don't be telling my children that that's sensible. Okay? Because you're naming one issue that's, of course, crucial on the issue of marriage and what is marriage, and I think that Supreme Court case may well be revisited. But the issue really is, how do we get along as free citizens of a great country? How do we get along? Because the alternative is ugly. How do we get along? How do we love our neighbor? How do we do this? Well, we don't allow someone to propagandize our children. The children are off base.
One quick thing, we have to take a break. One quick thing. I realize a lot of this is pretty emotional, but here's the deal. There is something happening that is the answer. There is what we can't give it any other term, but the term that seems to be out there to describe it is, there is a silent revival taking place. And a silent revival means it's not being led by any one person or any one denomination. It's led by a genuine hunger. Is there a God, and does he love me? And it is happening with young people. It's happening with young males. And so it's interesting that God doesn't need this conversation to save America. Okay? All he has to do is pour his Spirit out to hungry people.
Come, Lord Jesus.
We'll be right back.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests, or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Wednesday, teens talking with chatbots.
This could feel like the chatbot really knows them and knows things about them.
With deadly results.
These chatbots, they don't have judgment, they don't have morals.
How you can protect your child online.
They continue to miss signs that a human would pick up on.
And actress, producer, and CEO of Candy Rock Entertainment, Candace Cameron Bure, shares her wild hope. Wednesday.
Welcome back. Bob Justice in the house. I have to tell you, I think what we need to do, Bob, is, you know what today is?
What?
Today is chicken wings and lasagna day. Did you know that?
Both together?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's if you like chicken wings, today's your day. Okay.
So you're honoring chicken wings separately, and then lasagna separately. It's not, you don't have to bring them together.
So, but they're both comfort foods.
Yeah, they are.
In order to bring the temperature down, we need some chicken wings and some lasagna.
We need some comfort food.
Okay, and we can sit down and gnaw this out. But I think what we're trying to do here is express something to our hearts and to our minds, is that we're losing the thing that we love. And the question we have to ask ourselves, are we responsible for this loss? Because we want neutral. We want quiet. We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to be conflicting to anybody. And what's at stake here is the next generation. I have George Barna on quite a bit. He's really, really a super guy. We talk off the phone. I mean, he's just a neat guy. And his heart breaks when his first research came out that less than 8% of Christians in America have a biblical worldview. So he went back and he did the study again, only to find out that it dropped to 4%. Okay? But then he begins to look at it, and he starts to peel the onion skin back. And there is a genuine hunger among young people who are waking up to the fact that they have been lied to. If the Bible is true, and their parents aren't old fogies, and Grandma really was the right person telling me Bible stories, and there's this return to faith. The question I have is the modern church, the local church, willing to bring them in? They don't look like us. They don't smell like us. They don't act like us. They don't talk like us. But they're hungry. And are we ready for them? Okay? God is moving if we let him move.
I remember the feeling well. Now, I was lucky because I went to a Christian high school and a Christian college and sang in the choir, and so I had a lot of exposure. And even when I was very young and still secular Jewish living with my mother, I had a good boys' choir voice, and I sang at the Church of the Heavenly Rest in the boys' choir.
You lost that.
What?
You lost the boys.
I lost the boy choir voice. But so I was exposed. So when, and I was baptized and confirmed when I was 16. But I didn't understand Christianity. I lapsed from it in college during the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
But then, after a period of time, I started to put one and one together, and it came up two, and I realized, oh, the things I were taught when I was young are true. And I wonder if we can have that feeling nationally. Not everyone grew up, was exposed to Christianity in some depth, as I was in both high school and college. But as a nation, our history is Christianity. And it's full of, as you and I were talking about last time I was on the air with you, you go to Washington, D.C., Christianity is everywhere. Well, the Bible is everywhere.
During the 250th celebration of July 4th, just about every event had spiritual references, Christian references to it. So it's there. It's there. People say, what can I do? You can pray, obviously. But Grandma, go ahead and talk to your grandkids and love somebody. It's okay to talk about it at work.
Absolutely.
To your point, if you're going to go to the water cooler, I'll guarantee you the person you meet at the water cooler is broken inside, and they're looking for hope. Do we have it in us to share that?
And I'll tell you, when the Bible makes reference to blindness and sight, darkness and light, but particularly blindness and sight, I remember when I was, we would say a baby Christian, but that there were things I couldn't see, and Christian friends of mine would say, "You see that?" And I'd go, I don't see that. I don't see it. There are so many people that are hungering for something that makes sense, something they can hold on to, right? But they don't see, okay? We are the people of sight, all right? We are not blind. And the joy of understanding life, understanding Christian worldview, biblical worldview, understanding that we are each individual's unique. Of course, what birthday is about. Unique individuals known by God with a purpose. If we can find it, if the scales can drop from our eyes and we can see, right? So we are the ones who see. We have to help those who can't see or are wandering around. One of the things I told you off the air, we were talking about it. One of the reasons I was invited to Spain to give the seminar on dating, courting, marrying, parenting, on gender identity. Last April I went. They saw the video I did at Edgewater Christian Fellowship in Grants Pass, and what they were drawn to was their big problem in Spain is postmodernism. Young people don't believe there's such a thing as truth. Mm-hmm. And my point in the seminar, which is linked on bobjoss.com, is that God made man and God made woman, and these are two essential truths because together they create marriage, children, and future eternity. Everything, be fruitful, everything comes out of that. They are two essential truths. And if we can start to stand, and we, the church, capital C, if we can start to stand on that principle that there is such a thing as woman, and it's beautiful, powerful, anointed, designed such a thing as man, and it's beautiful and powerful in design, and how they come together to make marriage and bear children and raise children. These are truths that you can stand on. And the young people who are blind, they want to make a life. How do I do this thing? How do I make a life? I love that Charlie Kirk said, get married young, find a good woman, for a good man, get married young and have more children than you think you can afford. You know what? Glory be to God. Go ahead and do it. I just met a young couple who had already have 5 children. He has a good job. She's homeschooling. They are a good family. They are making a way. And you know what? They're poor. They're struggling. They're actually on food stamps. But you know what? We all have to be poor to be rich again. We have to decide, what is it that really matters? Don't worry about the fancy this or the fancy that. Get married. Have children, raise them right. That's real gold. When I grew up, Perry, the phrase that children are a poor man's wealth, poor woman's wealth, because that couple is going to raise a beautiful family, even though they're on the edge. They're going to raise a beautiful family and have a glorious life in an old age.
Well, do you ever have a bad day?
Never when I'm on the air with you, Perry.
Oh, no, but seriously, you ever have a bad day? And you kind of wonder why is God allowing that?
Do I ever struggle? I mean, life is full of struggle.
Okay, so.
Full of disappointments and failures.
All you have to do is watch Johnny Erickson Tata.
Oh, right.
And all of a sudden everything takes on another perspective. She's prayed and fasted for healing. And God said no. And yet her life has produced more healing than any one person can possibly imagine. And when I'm having a bad day, I have to remind myself, I'm not paraplegic in a wheelchair with constant pain.
She is a marvel of God.
Yeah. We got to go. Check out bobjust.com. That's where you go. By the way, the seminar he gave over there at Edgewater, it's there on the website. He just gave you an hour eclipse of what is there a little bit. Good stuff. Check it out. Bob, good to see you. I don't know, maybe we can squeeze you in one more time before you catch the big silver bird back. But it's always good to have you. Thank you for your passion.
Thank you, Perry, for everything.
All right, we'll see you next time.
The world has a view, but God has the vision. An inspirational talk show blending heartfelt storytelling with practical insight to help you live with clarity, compassion, and vision. Join Alveda King Tuesdays on the Dove TV. Once again, our very own Dove TV was recognized for excellence by the National Religious Broadcasters with the